might suck, but it might be kind of halfway okay.
You kind of choose where you're living.
Well,
what are you doing, man?
I can imagine I could handle living in a building, a little motel, a little travel, so an RV's just like that, like a travel trailer. Not one on the truck though, that's too small. But if you actually have a trailer, like the one, what's his name? I could live in a trailer thing if it's got a bed,
a fifth
and a
wheel.
sink. You know, a sink.
You're pulling with your truck or whatever.
I really wish there'd be a shower, because I really do need to wash every day. But I'm not expecting to take a bath. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not expecting anybody to make a left-hand turn here. I don't think you're supposed to be doing that at this time.
It's in between the hours when you're not supposed to make a left.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars coming.
And there's usually a sign that says that, and this is an illegal left-hand turn.
The person should go down to the bottom, make a turn back, come back.
You're supposed to go the right, do the right.
This traffic's not going to stop. It's Boeing traffic.
Sign is right back there.
There's a cop there. You should be doing something about that. Right there.
Sheriff. There's signs that say
Xfinity. Somebody should turn them in. Matter of fact, I might. What the hell is Xfinity having to go on up there for?
Animal farm and all that stuff. There's signs that say you're not supposed to.
Yep.
Like that one right there. And there's no one down here.
Yep.
Left turn, right turns only. There's a reason for this. We've had this problem for 50 years. Been 50 years since the milling plant opened.
Yep.
First 747 didn't start flying until
and what's kind of funny about that?
70.
I was thinking about this earlier. This drive right here has not changed. Almost not one iota.
They did right after this curve. They did some work here that really straightened it out on these two curves right here. This one and this one and the next one. All three of the curves. They did a whole bunch of work, but otherwise it is the same road.
It's exactly the same. This is the same as it was when I was here in '81.
They put in the sidewalk. Is one of the things they did.
They did put in the sidewalk, but other than that, the road's the same.
I think there was a sidewalk there, and matter of fact, it was over a little bit further. But what they did was they fixed this, because this was really bad before. This was and it was really bad. It was dangerous, is what it was. Even with a good car.
It still is right here.
Yeah. Well, you have to make sure you slow down. Here's the neat thing going to Mukilteo at this time of day. There's a good chance of going to Mukilteo, going this way, there's no traffic at all, because everybody's trying to get home out of Boeing, not go into Boeing. I remember when I first went to work at Coastal.
I was thinking about going to Mukilteo Beach, but I mean to Picnic Point, but that's too far now. Or even Meadowdale. I don't have any video or pictures of Meadowdale.
It was so shocking. The girl got killed by the tree falling on her in Meadowdale earlier this spring.
Yeah.
It's caused by two things, both wet weather and it was the crews are so diligent. Nobody realizes how diligent the crews are in the state parks and the city parks, because those places are dangerous. We don't know it.
Yep.
Because people are very rarely there when a big tree falls. But they fall because they're ready to fall, and you never know that. My friend Susie, that was my roommate, we're not friends anymore, but we were good friends, and her sister was living down there in Seattle, right on the waterfront. Big mudslide in 1997, big news. Houses got wiped out. 3 houses got wiped out, but family was at home. The one was her sister. She never recovered. She was her closest. She's real close to her whole family, but that just ruined her for life. Because you can't control things like that. I met the guy whose house was destroyed by the mudslide here in Mukilteo one time in the 90s. He was down at Cheers having a beer. So what else can I do? catch a ride to the motel. House is gone. Gonna get picked through it in a couple of days. It rained for a week.
Really? Really? You're just gonna pull out and do that? What in the heck are you doing, man? 20 miles an hour?
Look at this. They don't even know how to drive in the road. They're driving onto the double yellow lines.
That's right. The rate is 2.75%.
What the fuck?
With an APR of 2.93%.
Jeez.
Call them 800-700-8068.
Wow.
700-8068.
It's just 35, but that's a big deal. Oh.
I was just wanting to go 30.
Saturdays at 2 p.m. Call 800-700.
I've got a car on me.
Outlook Point. There's a great place. I've always wondered about, particularly like that piece of that where the gated community, that right there is where that tree got cut down by the people who lived up on the hill that didn't like it. The fucking 150, 300-year-old tree, and they cut it down because they didn't, it obstructed their view. They got fined like $300,000, but so what?
You can afford it. You can afford it, but if they would have given him 5 years in prison, he probably wouldn't have done it again. But when it's just money, it's okay.
It was on somebody else's property. Huge grandfather clause that each one of these places, one of them used to be so big and they cut it up.
Yep. That's where Steve
They sold it. Yeah, I remember.
Because Steve Knipster used to live right back
I
there.
remember. We were over there. Actually, almost bought that X19 from him that he had for sale. I actually still wish I had, even though it might have been a pile of junk. It may have been my start on back into a cheap sports car. Something I could dig around with a little bit. I've always wanted a garage so I could have a car and a place to put that car and work on. It's actually the one fantasy, because I know I can work on with my hands with tools.
The same thing that the president said about Hillary Clinton, and I didn't see homie concerned here. But anyway, I understood the president requesting we drop. I understood the president requesting that we drop any investigation in connection with false statements about the conversations with the Russian.
Last night, Eric Trump went on Fox News and said the Democrats are not even people. Now see, the thing is that this is what they're working towards. Because at the beginning of the year, Trump said that the people that voted against him were his enemies. Didn't say we were opponents, we're his enemies. And then he said the media is the enemy of the people.
Yeah.
And now Democrats are not even people. They're trying to reduce us to something less than human.
Like Jews.
Just like they used to do with Jewish people, or the black people, or the Native Americans. Now it's the Democrats who are not falling in line for him. And it's only been 6 months.
Tell them they go good. One of the things about the marijuana thing, that if they want to try to come in state by state, you know, this is what the Civil War was fought over, is called mandate.
Yeah.
This is a voted thing. And
well, right now Sessions is in a lot of trouble with Trump, so they're not going to be able to come after the marijuana. Sessions is the only one that really wanted to come after the marijuana.
actually, one time, I actually saw an interview with Trump a long time ago, and he said, if you're not an atheist, then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And now he's all religious.
Evangelical.
And then I also
he's anointed.
saw him,
They say he's anointed.
as far as I understood, that he smoked pot, and actually he was like one of the cool rich people at one point, like in the 80s, early 80s, before he had that big bankruptcy. He was like considered one of these good guys.
Pretender, yeah.
But we didn't know. He was fucking hippie.
Yeah.
He was a rock and roller. Well, they liked rock and roll music. They didn't really didn't know what it was about, but they liked it.
Yeah.
It's their music, their generation. I can imagine that maybe he took accordion lessons and never told anybody.
I like that little traveler right there.
Yeah, man, that's almost too small, but I could live in it, you know?
And he made it clear he didn't want anyone else in the room.
have a good truck to pull it in.
Because he followed up and had additional one-on-one conversations. If the additional ones were so inappropriate, why did Comey allow the first one to take place? That's the one where Comey arguably should have had other people in the room. Instead, he wants to have it again. Both ways. It's okay for him to initiate one-on-one conversations to talk about ongoing counterintelligence investigations involving the president personally, but the president's not allowed to have any conversations with him or initiate any conversations with him. This shows that President Trump was so right to fire this man. So right.
Yeah, but I find Comey's excuse for not reporting the conversations to his superiors based on his description weak and vacuous. And in other words, he said,
as long as it's not one of our cousins.
It made little sense to tell him because they're leaving and he's going to recuse himself and the next man's not going to be there long.
Seasonal cuisine, John's Grill.
There was nothing to tell.
Actually, someone that's in our family owns one of these, runs one of these businesses right along here.
So that's why he didn't walk across the street, because there was nothing to tell.
Just said Uncle John's, I'd be curious.
All right, let me go to the hearings that took place today with national security.
I like Thai food, but ambrosia and Thai food are like
Mike Rogers,
5,000 miles apart.
Testifying to Mark Warner, never was pressured to do anything illegal, immoral, unethical, or inappropriate.
People are making a left here.
And then you have Dan Coates, Director of National Intelligence, says he was never pressured.
Here in
and, you know, let's start there.
Admiral Rogers, you'd rather
Salon Tiger.
Before we get to the substance, whether this call or request.
Paul Million's wife, Linda, she has been in and out of the hospital when they got her out into the car the other day. She passed out. They don't know what's going on.
An ongoing
I saw that.
It's over and over. It's like, man, what
investigation concerns.
You know, I've been down this road with Dad, except for it wasn't like that. You know, he was bad enough to where, but he was fucking 78. He wasn't 58.
Yeah,
59. And what gets me about both Paul and Linda is they didn't drink heavy. She never drank. She didn't smoke. And I sort of recall she never had any real health problems. And to have this happen in late middle age, you know, really sad. The only thing she could possibly have done is never, you know, been overweight.
Yeah.
But for that to get her that sick, that's weird. But it must have been, it's probably congenital. You just don't know it.